Saudi officials have painted a grim picture of the potential consequences of a ground conflict in discussions with their American counterparts. Welcome, everyone, to today's video. We're here to discuss Saudi Arabia's stern warning to the United States concerning the need to halt Israel's actions immediately, or else they will take action. In recent days, Saudi leaders have delivered a strong message to the U.S., emphasizing that an Israeli ground invasion of Gaza could lead to dire repercussions for the Middle East. But before we delve further into this topic, if you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe by clicking the bell icon so you can stay updated with the informative videos we'll be sharing in the future. 10 senators recently held meetings with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh over the weekend. Among them was Senator Richard Blumenthal, a Democrat from Connecticut and a member of the Armed Services Committee. Mr. Blumenthal, in an interview with the New York Times on Thursday, revealed that Saudi leadership is hopeful that a ground operation can be averted, citing concerns about stability and the potential loss of life. He stressed that such an operation could have highly destructive consequences, echoing the warnings issued by Saudi officials. According to one Saudi official and another source familiar with the discussions, senior Saudi officials have conveyed even stronger warnings to their American counterparts in multiple conversations. They've expressed their deep concerns that a ground invasion could prove catastrophic for the entire region. These discussions have unfolded as tensions extend beyond the Gaza Strip. Israel's retaliatory actions, which include bombardments and blockades in response to an attack by Hamas, the militant Palestinian organization controlling Gaza on October 7th, have exacerbated the already dire situation. Basic necessities like fuel and water are becoming increasingly scarce. From a Biden administration official, it's evident that the Saudis stand in opposition to an Israeli attack on Gaza. Given the sensitivity of the situation, the U.S. official, the Saudi counterpart, and the person with knowledge of the Saudi warnings have all requested to remain anonymous. In a ceremonial setting, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman walks alongside President Joko Widodo of Indonesia on a lavender carpet in a square, with military officers standing at attention. President Joko Widodo of Indonesia was warmly received by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman this month in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia's capital, as depicted in an image provided by the Saudi royal court. Since the Hamas offensive that tragically claimed the lives of over 1,400 Israelis, the United States has consistently affirmed Israel's right to self-defense. President Biden recently stated, "Let there be no doubt the United States stands with Israel." Simultaneously, according to U.S. officials, President Biden urged Israel to delay the attack for various reasons, including providing more time for hostage negotiations, increasing the flow of humanitarian aid to Gaza, and enhancing the overall strategic approach to the conflict. Additionally, there are indications that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is apprehensive about a ground invasion. Crown Prince Mohammed and President Biden have concurred on pursuing broader diplomatic initiatives to uphold regional stability and prevent the conflict from escalating. This consensus was reached during a recent call this week, as stated in a release by the White House on Tuesday. The statement notably omitted any reference to discussions regarding a ground invasion. Earlier this year, Prince Mohammed and President Biden reconciled after a period of highly tense relations, which stemmed from discussions about a potential agreement in which Saudi Arabia would recognize Israel and establish diplomatic relations. Prominent advisors to President Biden expressed significant optimism about such an agreement, believing it could have transformative effects on the Middle East. However, they also recognized the complex diplomatic challenges involved. For an extended period, some Arab governments, including Saudi Arabia, had refrained from establishing diplomatic ties with Israel until the establishment of a Palestinian state. Over the past decade, this stance has evolved as autocratic leaders in the region weighed the potential security and economic benefits of a relationship with Israel, along with the advantages that could come from the United States under the Abraham Accords, mediated by the Trump administration. In 2020, Bahrain, Morocco, and the United Arab Emirates established diplomatic relations with Israel. Nevertheless, the Palestinian cause remains a potent rallying point in the region. The unpopularity of these agreements grew over time, especially as the Israeli government shifted further to the right and expanded settlements in the West Bank. The Biden administration's negotiations with Saudi Arabia, a significant political force in the Arab world, were more comprehensive and nuanced from the outset compared to discussions over previous agreements under the Trump administration. Saudi officials made it clear that they would consider normalization with Israel if the United States offered incentives, such as increased arms sales, a mutual defense pact, and support for a Saudi civilian nuclear program. American and Saudi officials also engaged in talks about potential concessions Israel might need to make to address Palestinian concerns. Nonetheless, in a recent interview with Fox News, Prince Mohammed seemed to suggest that achieving Palestinian statehood might not be successful. Gaza's health ministry disclosed the identities of 6,747 individuals who have lost their lives since the conflict's onset, also reporting that 281 bodies remained unidentified. Angry protests have erupted across the Middle East, denouncing Israel and the U.S., while expressing solidarity with the Palestinian people. Demonstrators have taken to the streets, condemning Israel's blockade and demanding a ceasefire. While Saudi officials have been focused on promoting the country's national narrative, centered around the prince's vision of transforming Saudi Arabia into a major international financial center, they have conveyed a much more direct message in private meetings and phone conversations with U.S. officials. According to Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, who played a role in organizing the visit, and Mr. Blumenthal, the prince and other Saudi officials conveyed a rather ominous tone to the Senate delegation. When it comes to Hamas's attack on Israel, Mr. Graham mentioned that the prince recognizes it as an act of terror, but seeks a measured response that won't escalate into a prolonged and intense conflict. Experts on Hamas have cautioned that any attempt to dismantle the organization, as Israel has pledged to do, could fuel radicalism and violence, heightening the sense of oppression among Palestinians under Israeli rule. Moreover, an invasion could exacerbate instability in neighboring countries, particularly in Bahrain, Egypt, and Jordan, whose governments are already grappling with unrest due to economic hardship or political repression. Historically, Iran has supported Hamas, and depending on Israel's military response, Iran-backed anti-Israel regional militias have vowed to open new fronts in the conflict, potentially targeting Saudi Arabia. Throughout the conflict, Saudi authorities have consistently reiterated their support for the establishment of a Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital, along with a meaningful peace process between Israel and the Palestinians. The Saudi Foreign Minister, Prince Faisal bin Farhan, emphasized this week that facing all the obstacles and historical complexities involved in the issue is essential for achieving real peace and stability in the region. It appears that American and Saudi leaders are still clinging to the prospect of a normalization deal with Israel, despite the escalating violence. The limited interactions between these two nations, separated by a mere 22-mile drive through Jordan, would have largely remained concealed if not for this official development. Senators who visited Riyadh conveyed that Saudi authorities still seem inclined to acknowledge Israel at the right time. Normalization is often portrayed by Israelis and American officials as a strategy to contain Iran, Saudi Arabia's most significant regional adversary. In an effort to expel Houthi rebels who maintain a strong presence in Yemen with support from Iran, Prince Mohammed initiated a costly Saudi-led military operation in 2015. However, to diversify the economy of the oil-dependent monarchy, the Crown Prince has recently taken a more conciliatory approach and focused on building bridges. Earlier this year, he restored diplomatic ties with Iran. According to Mr. Blumenthal, a Saudi-Israel agreement doesn't appear likely until after Israel concludes its operation. During their Tuesday call, Prince Mohammed and President Biden emphasized the importance of working toward a lasting peace between Israel and the Palestinians once the current crisis subsides, according to a White House statement. According to a Saudi government statement, Prince Mohammed stressed the urgent need to halt military operations and initiate a peace process to secure the legitimate rights of the Palestinians. Notably, neither statement mentioned the establishment of a Palestinian state. According to an individual familiar with the discussions, a potential agreement that Saudi officials had been working on before the conflict contained provisions for the Palestinians to achieve statehood. Prince Mohammed may be able to shape public opinion in his own country, where strong anti-Israel sentiment and widespread support for the Palestinian cause exist, by framing the possibility of closer ties with Israel as a means of securing more rights for the Palestinians. Although U.S. diplomatic efforts are currently concentrated on the immediate crisis, they remain committed to the long-term goal of a more stable, prosperous, and integrated Middle East region, including the normalization and advancement of a two-state solution. This was the State Department's response to inquiries about the Saudi warnings. That concludes today's video. However, prior to the recent hostilities, American officials and experts in Washington revealed that the primary focus of U.S.-Saudi negotiations had been addressing the security needs of Saudi Arabia. The Palestinian question had not been extensively discussed. Don't forget to like the video and hit the subscribe button to stay updated with our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you